And we're live.
All righty. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. I think we've got the rest of the team probably coming in, or maybe they're watching it from their offices. Hey, we're excited. We're going to dive into this. We've been doing this training for my internal team for the last month or so now. I think we've done 3 or 4 of these on a Friday. In Colorado time, it's 11 o'clock, so Friday morning, right after our team meeting. And we take a little bit of a break after our team weekly planning meeting and then go right into a little training. And the whole objective behind this, if you're new here and have never jumped in with us, is to take the mission of Freedom Soft, which is to make financial freedom through residential real estate investing simple and accessible to anyone. And that includes our internal team. And we spend a lot of time supporting real estate investors and coaching them and providing tools for them and onboarding them and supporting them in the software application and use. And so the whole team always sees everyone else out there having success with real estate and sometimes doesn't get that poured back into themselves. And so my initial concept and idea behind doing this was to kind of just pour into the team and let them build their own financial freedom through real estate investing, instead of having to be the folks that are always behind the scenes and supporting the education and the training and the tools. Let them be the consumer of the education and the training and the tools. And so if you're outside jumping in, you're sitting just in on one of our team trainings. And so that's the whole objective of this. And so we've spent the last month or so in these trainings talking about deal evaluation, what a real estate deal even is. How do you know if a real estate deal is a good deal or a bad deal? How do you pick the right house? How do you run the numbers? How do you figure out what price to pay? We've talked about all of these various components. We've talked about funding. We've talked about different deal types, particularly in the market that we're in today, which is a hot market, low inventory, highly competitive, high prices. What do you do in a market like that? Do you sit on the sidelines and wait, or do you jump in and try to make something happen? And my belief is that as real estate investors, we can always be actively engaged in the business of acquisitions, and we can always be in the market because there's different things that we can do. And we put new arrows in our quiver and tools in our tool belt. It gives us the ability to acquire or control real estate no matter what the market is doing. And so to just summarize what we've talked about in the past, over the last couple of weeks, so that you guys as the team remember this, right? As real estate investors, we're in this to solve problems, never take advantage of somebody, but solve someone's problems. Our job is to acquire the property at the best price or with the best terms that is a win-win for everybody involved, so that we can then make a cash profit short term, or we can make a cash flow profit long term, right? And we've talked in depth about how to run those numbers. We've talked in depth about what that looks like. If we then kind of fast forward that and say, okay, we get that basic concept, and we know what this is about. We know what we as a real estate investor have to do with the current market. We're then going to do one of two things. We're either going to buy properties at a discount, or we're going to buy properties on terms with owner financing or some kind of control over the use of that property, okay? And so when I start to think about this, and you guys have been asking me just throughout the course of the last week, okay, we get this concept and we see our customers doing this. How do we go about doing it? How do we get the opportunities to jump in on. And here's what most people do. The majority of real estate investors across the country, the millions of people that would consider themselves a real estate investor, the majority of them know one way to find deals. And that one way to find deals is call a local real estate agent and say, hey, can you look in the local MLS and see if there's any house I should buy? Okay, in my mind, that's kind of the wrong way to go about it, okay? Because number one, this is fundamental. What the seller is asking, whether the house is listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, through a traditional real estate agent, whether it's listed publicly or it's off market and you're just talking to a seller, what the seller wants in price is not connected to what you can pay. So what you can pay and what they want are mutually exclusive. It doesn't matter, okay? So never get locked into, well, a seller wants $175,000. Okay, you might want to hear what they want. And as we talked about, you've got to dig in a little bit and understand, why do they want that? Well, they want that because they want cash, because they need, $20,000 to take this big trip to see their grandkids on the East Coast, and yada yada yada, right? So that we've talked about the why, digging in on the why, and that's the sales, that's the conversational part about it. It's less sales and it's more empathy. It's conversation. Understand what the seller's wants and needs are, and you win. Okay? You don't have to be a brilliant salesman. You need to be empathetic to understanding what are they trying to accomplish. If that's not your primary way to go find a deal. And it's not a bad way. I've bought hundreds of houses through relationships with real estate agents. Generally, if a real estate deal comes to an investor through an agent, here's what happens. That deal comes to the real estate agent and there's a problem in some way. The seller has a personal problem, or the property is in some state of disrepair or distress. And so the retail real estate agent generally doesn't know how to deal with those distressed situations. That's our unique skill. As investors, we learn how to deal with distressed situations, whether it's a personal distress or it's a property distress, right? And so the real estate agent, when they get those type of opportunities to list a house and try to sell it, they don't always know what to do with it. They know, take pictures, put it up on the MLS and wait for people to contact them, right? They don't know necessarily how to position that house for a sale and to really make this deal happen and get it done. And because a lot of times the types of houses that we as investors buy are distressed. Sometimes they're not bankable, okay? So they're so distressed, maybe there's roof problem, maybe there's a leak, maybe there's utility issues, maybe there's major mechanical issues, maybe there's foundation issues, maybe there's, who knows? But they're in a state of disrepair that the agent doesn't know what to do with it because it's not bankable, and most people that buy traditionally are getting bank financing. And if it's not bankable, that opens an opportunity for us as investors. So what I want to say to that point is build relationships with real estate agents and teach them the types of deals that they might have to otherwise pass on that you want to be involved in, okay? Those non-bankable, those deals that need speed because there's a personal problem in the seller's life, whether it be financial, whether it be relationship, a lot of time divorce, a lot of time disagreement between partners in an investment property. There are things that drive speed and that we can step in and solve. Okay, so speed is a big driver of what we do. Distress and the ability to pay cash or do deals that are non-bankable, a big deal for what we do. So relationships with agents is the traditional side of what everybody thinks, but most people just tell that agent to go look at the MLS and see what's available. What I'm telling you guys to do is build relationship and teach the agent what to look out for. You want them to bring you those pocket opportunities, called a pocket listing, that isn't traditionally sellable through the traditional sales, and you get that phone call and say, hey, are you interested in this one? Now, what we've talked about the last few weeks is what you can pay does not match up with what the seller might be asking or what the real estate agent lists the house at, right? Those numbers don't matter. What matters is what you can pay, and we've taught you guys how to calculate what you can pay. Let's shift from the MLS, the multiple listing service, or the listed property arena, and let's go to the off-market arena. Okay, the off-market arena is not currently listed. It's a house that isn't listed. It's a house that the seller would potentially like to sell, but they don't even know that they can sell. Maybe they inherited the house and the house is in such disrepair, and their mindset is what a traditional real estate agent or what the mass market of people thinks about a house, and they say, this is in such disrepair, it will never sell. I can't sell it, I'm stuck with it. So we're going to go to the off-market side of the world, and the same things that happen on the listed side happen in the off-market side. The difference is you're going to do marketing, and you're going to get people to respond to that marketing. So you're going to solve problems. You're going to be a problem solver when it comes to off-market deal finding. Okay, that's what we do. That's what we support and help our thousands of customers with FreedomSoft do every single day, right? We teach them how to go off market using Lead Finder and other tools, all of the marketing tools built into FreedomSoft, to get a message out there to a specific targeted list of prospects, get those people to see that message, respond, and say, yep, I didn't even think that I could sell this house, or I didn't know that you guys even existed. They respond to your marketing, contact you, and now you're in a conversation. Okay, that's what we do and support our customers with every single day. So let's talk about the lists and how do we build that audience, right? When it comes to marketing, marketing is building a list, crafting a message, getting that message in front of that audience, and getting them to respond in some way. Okay, real estate investor marketing is direct response marketing. We want to send a message out offering to solve a problem, and we want to elicit an immediate response. We want somebody to see our postcard, see our letter, see our website, see our ad online, and we want them to see that. We want them to connect to the solution we're offering. We want their problem to become aware. We want them to be aware of their problem and now aware that there's a solution to their problem. And we want to elicit an immediate response. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to build a list. And I think about building lists in a couple of different ways. Once you've figured out the geography that you want to acquire or do real estate deals in, it's going to start with, there's three ways that I think about building lists. Number one, I think about building lists from the field. So if you're in the area, if you have people in the area, if you have contractors in the area, if you have if somebody that is driving DoorDash or something in an area, get them to be on the lookout for opportunities. And so you're from the field list. A lot of times it's called driving for dollars, right? you're out in a neighborhood and you're driving and you're looking for opportunities. And what you're looking for is tall grass, broken windows, a bad roof, abandoned house, vacant, messed up garage door. This is a big one. Disconnected gas lines. You can often drive by and maybe somebody's maintaining it. Maybe the grass is cut. Maybe it looks like it could be occupied. There's curtains in there, but the gas line has been disconnected and turned off. You find these little things. If you're in an area in the wintertime, you'll notice driving down a street after a snow, you'll notice that there's car tracks out of every driveway. But then you get to one and it snowed 3 days ago and there's no car tracks in that driveway. Those little clues when you're building a list from the field that actually help you figure out, hey, that is a house that has a potential to be vacant, abandoned, distressed in some way. It's a physical thing when we're talking about that from the field list. You can't drive down the house and say that house is getting a divorce. You can't see that, right? But you can drive down the house and say that house is distressed. So you're looking for physical distress when you're in the field. You don't have to do it yourself. What you can do is you can build an army, a network of people in an area and have them send you in the addresses. You're gonna build the addresses. 123 Main Street appears as I'm driving down the street. 123 Main Street appears distressed. You're gonna add it to your list. And the way we teach our customers to do it is take a picture of that house, send that picture with the address in the subject line right into FreedomSoft, into the campaign email address, and capture those leads right into a FreedomSoft campaign. You can give that exact same email address to anybody out in the field that's working or looking on your behalf. So the first thing that I think about is from the field. This is geography. The second thing that I think about are specialty situations. Okay, so specialty situations are probate. There are divorce filings. They are disconnected water or utilities. They are vacant houses. You can build specialty lists that have some flag noted on the property address. What's important to know is that there is a property address and there's a tax mailing address for every house out there. Now, if the property address and the tax mailing address are the same, what do we have? Yeah, right. We have an owner-occupied property. Okay, if we have property address and a tax mailing address that are different, we have what? An absentee-owned property or an investor-owned property. And so you can't tell that as you're driving down the road, but what you can do is grab the property address, get it loaded up into FreedomSoft, and click the Find the Owner button. Find the Owner button is going to append all of the owner information right to the record in FreedomSoft, and you're going to be able to see, do I have an owner-occupied or an absentee-owned property? So those specialty lists, though, shortcut that a lot of times. You're gonna get maybe not even an address, depending on the list. If it's a divorce, you might get a divorce list, and then you may get or you may not get their residency, their residence address. That would be your property address, and you're gonna do marketing in that situation. Probate, a similar deal. You're going to get a property address that is in probate through the probate records. A vacant flag is something that we do every single day inside of FreedomSoft, right? You can go build a list of owner-occupied or absentee owner properties in FreedomSoft and apply the vacant flag, and it will show you every house in that area, in that geography that's vacant. Well, what do we know that a vacant house is? A vacant house is a house that's costing somebody money, right? They're not making any money off of that house. Maybe maybe they were making money, tenants moved out, it's now vacant, it's no longer paying them. If that owner now has to deal with repairs, deal with management, deal with all of the things that go along with dealing with a maintenance on a vacant house, that is one of those factors that drives more acquisitions in my business than anything else, a vacant house. And so that's it. That's the specialty list. So we've got from the field, then we've got specialty lists, then we have just flat public records. Okay. Now, public records, you're going to go in and you're going to target a geography, just like you do from the field, but you're going to target a geography and you're going to build your list of prospect addresses from that geography, inside of that geography. I know there's neighborhoods and there's areas that I like to buy in. So I'll go build my list inside of that geography, and every house in that geography, I'll put it into a lead list in FreedomSoft. And then I'll go through and I'll segment that list out by adding different flags to it and figure out, okay, what's vacant, what's absentee owned, what's absentee owned by an out-of-state owner, right? Distance creates motivation. And so what we're doing here is we're building our list of prospects so that we can then go market to them. The message from the, or the list from the field, specialty situations, and public records, those three list building tools, as you get more and more adept and good at that, and this is the stuff that we teach our users of FreedomSoft to do every single day. So you guys all know how to do this if you're in the product or support, success, and coaching side of FreedomSoft. Those of you that are on the development side and the finance team operations, you have a little bit less connection to the product, but know that this is the product that we offer. This is what we do. So you can use our very own product to go build these lists. Then it comes down to marketing. Okay. So as we've talked about this over the last few weeks, we've talked about how do you analyze a single family house. We've talked about how do you analyze a multifamily complex, right? We've talked about the analysis to both. So you can go build your lists and then start your marketing, okay? Your marketing then is all about offering a solution. And here are a couple things that are absolutely key. These are probably the most important things that a seller that is in a distressful situation needs to hear. You're going to buy like this. You're going to buy as is. So you're going to take it as it is. They don't have to do any fix-up work. It's not going to cost them any money. They don't have to think about it anymore. You're going to buy as is. You're going to buy for cash. So there's no financing concerns. Because here's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times when somebody ends up with a distressed house or in a distressed situation, they first contact a real estate agent because that's what everybody is taught to do. A lot of times that real estate agent, as I said earlier, doesn't know what to do with it. So they say, sorry, I can't help you. Okay. So number one, you want to be the referral. You want to be top of mind in that agent's mind when that happens. Okay. Number two, when that kind of things happens, and I'm thinking about different scenarios where that has been the trigger that has gotten me in on a deal. When that happens and they refer that over to you, what are we doing again? We're doing as is. We're buying it as is because it's distressed, and what the agent tells the owner they have to do is put 20 grand into fixing it up. And once they fix the roof, and once they fix the carpet and the walls and update the kitchen and all of these things, once they put 20 grand into it, then call me and I can list it and I can get you top dollar. Okay. Well, the seller may not have the 20 grand or not want to put the 20 grand into it to do that. Okay. So you'll buy it as is. They don't have to do the work. So when you start talking to a seller and you're promoting that you can buy it as is, they've already heard from 1, 2, 3 other people that I can take it once you do work. Once you improve the property, then we can list it and get it sold. You're the first person that's saying, you don't have to do anything. I'll take it as is. And then they say, well, how can you do that? Because it's not bank financeable today, because I talked to XYZ over here and they said that because the furnace doesn't work, because the roof needs repaired, it's not bank financeable. You say, not a problem, we'll pay cash. Okay, so you're going to buy it as is, you're going to pay cash, and you can close on the day they choose, meaning you can close fast. Okay, so a fast sale. Now the fast sale comes in a lot of times when there's a distressed personal life situation, and or they need cash for something that's going on, right? A quick sale is a motivator for a seller to sell. So 3 things. You're going to buy it as is, you're going to pay cash, and you can close fast. Those are the 3 key elements in your marketing message. Okay, so you're going to send your marketing message out, and to the list that you've built, whether it be from the field list, a specialty situations list, or a list from public records, you're going to build that list, you're going to organize it in FreedomSoft, and you're going to grab that full list or segments of that list, and you're going to send out marketing. You're going to send out letters. You're going to send out direct mail. You're going to maybe skip trace the owners and jump on a cold call and call them directly. You're going to send, if you've built a specialty list of let's say for rent by owners or for rent list off of Zillow or Craigslist or any of the other online for rent listing sites, they're publicly advertising their phone number and saying, contact me. You can build that list, load it up into a FreedomSoft list, grab it and launch a text messaging campaign and get instant replies. Okay, and you're solving the 3 things. You're going to buy it as is, for cash, and fast. Those 3 components. Now, here's the thing. You're going to go build these lists. You're going to launch your marketing, and you're going to get people to start to reply to you. This is where the rubber meets the road. It is amazing to me that people will spend the time learning how this stuff works, taking some action, and getting the response that they want. And you guys all see it, especially in our support team and our success in coaching teams. We get people from 0 to 100 miles an hour in minutes. Like, if they'll jump in and take action and just follow the process that we lay out, we'll have them talking to a potentially motivated seller in a matter of minutes. And that's where people shut down. Okay, they shut down because they're like, well, what am I supposed to say to them? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to offer? How do I calculate this? That's why we spent the last sessions that we've been doing teaching those elements first, because you guys now know what defines a good deal, right? And everybody's definition of a good deal can be slightly different. Because remember, the first question I told you to ask is, how do you want your money to perform, right? And if it's not your own money, how do you want your time, the return on investment of your time, to perform, right? A minimum of $250 per door net cash flow, okay? That's a measure of how you want your time to perform and or how you want your dollars to perform if you're investing capital. We've talked about all that. So now you get on the phone with the seller, and here's what I'm going to tell you. If you send out direct mail, if you shoot out marketing in some way, you're going to get 50% of the inbound calls. Write this down and don't forget this. 50% of the inbound calls are going to get your marketing. They're going to pick up the phone and they're going to call the number on the postcard or in the letter. and they're going to hang up. They're going to call, they're going to listen to your voicemail, and they're going to hang up. Okay? I'm just telling you how it's going to be. Here's the mistake that most real estate investors make. They never call the hang-ups back. You're going to get most of your deals by calling the hang-ups back. Because the people that leave you the voicemail are going to swear at you, cuss you out, chew you out, maybe say, call me, I'd love to sell, but that's going to be the minority. The majority of what you're going to hear are people that are just living an angry life, right? And so that freaks people out, and they quit. They get all the way to this point, and then they stop because all they're hearing is the negative. Well, people, that's just how people operate, unfortunately, right? The person that's going to be angry and negative is going to put in the effort, doggone it, to tell you how angry and negative they are. The person that you can really solve, some of them, a minority of them, is going to say, yeah, hey, I got your postcard. I'm interested in selling, call me. Okay? That's going to be the minority. The other half are just going to hang up because of their personality type. They're as afraid sometimes to talk to you as you are to them. The seller thinks you're going to try to screw them. The seller thinks you're going to be some super technically sophisticated, investor that they can't have, and that they are uncomfortable having a conversation with. They don't know that you're as scared of them as they are of you. This is the reality. You're just two people trying to solve a problem. That's it. So the majority of people are just gonna hang up. The majority, or 50% of them, are just gonna hang up. The majority of your deals are gonna come from you calling back the hangups. And you guys see it in FreedomSoft. Every inbound call that comes off of marketing into a lead campaign is captured. And it's captured as either a hang up, or it's captured as a voicemail, or it's forwarded through our live answer system right to the app, or right to somebody sitting in front of their computer screen, and they answer the phone. Live answer, right? So as your leads come in and 50% of them hang up, it's going to show you right on the dashboard, this appears to be a hang up, this appears to be a hang up, this appears to be a hang up. Those are the people you call back. Call them back, because your deals are going to be sitting inside of that. Now, the next piece of that, and these are two major things that real estate investors screw up. Number one, they don't call the hangups back, and number two, they don't follow up. Okay, after the inbound response from the seller and that lead is captured in the system, the majority of real estate investors don't follow up. Okay, if they don't get the deal right then and there, they stop. And people have the best intentions to follow up, but they don't do it because life gets in the way. They get busy, they get tired, they get distracted, they forget. The best laid intentions, when left to human effort, are almost always going to fail. So you've got to put the automation and the systems in place to make follow-up happen for you, whether you're thinking about it working or not. And so those calls come into FreedomSoft, get captured in the lead campaign. They get marked as a hang-up, they get marked as a voicemail, they get marked as a live answer, whatever happened in the history of that communication. And then with a simple status update, you trigger automation. So now, whether you're working or thinking about it or intentionally following up or not, the system is doing it for you, and the system is cueing you to follow up with task management, with automated follow-up text systems, with automated follow-up email systems. All of the components, guys, listen to this, 2/3 of the deals that I've closed in 20 years of doing this, 2/3 of the deals I've closed have come because of follow-up, not because of the first conversation. Okay. We have this whole thing that I teach. It's called the one call close. And that works fantastic. And our objective is to get through the conversation, through the script, build rapport, establish empathy, understand the desires of the seller, and then solve their problem while making them an offer on the first call. That's the objective. When that doesn't happen, and we try to push to get to making an offer on every call. And that's the goal. Sometimes it just doesn't work right then and there. So you've made the offer, the seller says, I'm not there yet, or whatever the seller says. That's the moment that most people screw it up. They're like, okay, seller's not motivated. They move on. They forget to follow up. 2/3 of your deals are going to close because you simply trigger follow-up automation in FreedomSoft at that moment. And that seller is going to come back a day later, a week later, 6 months later, a year later. I've closed deals that I've made fantastic money on a year after an initial conversation. Okay? And so don't forget the hang up and the callback and triggering the automation immediately. Such an important piece of this deal. Okay, so I want
some questions.
Yep, I want to stop us right. That's exactly where I was going to go right now, Mike. I want to stop us here, and I want to open this up for some questions because we're laying out the framework, and the whole thing here is, I can talk theory and I can talk what we do all day long, but unless you take action, none of it will ever happen. So, Mike, let me bounce it over to you. What questions do we have?
Yep, we got a couple of them. Number one, I'm throwing this one in the pot. You talked about from the field leads before and having people out and bringing leads for you. How do you compensate them?
Yep, I pay per lead. So it gets into a gray area if somebody shoots in a lead for you or a referral for you or an address for you, and then you go work that deal and then close it and then try to pay them after you close. Because now you're paying potentially an unlicensed person based on the closing of a real estate transaction. You can't do that. That's not legal. So what I do is I pay per lead, and I'll price the lead based on, the lead has to be a qualified lead. So it has to be vacant. I have to have a picture. I have to have the full address. It has to be inside of the geography that I'm interested in buying in. It can't have been previously submitted. It can't have been submitted by someone else earlier. Yada, yada, yada. So I build a lead scoring component. And when they shoot that lead into FreedomSoft, I'll have somebody on the team go through and make sure, are all of these things met? And if they are, we'll go ahead and pay them. And we pay via Venmo or PayPal, and I'll generally pay between $1 and $3 per lead. It's a great way to get somebody out. And if somebody sends you 50 addresses and you pay $2 a lead, that's $100. It's $100 to them. And now you have 50 really good prospects sitting in your dashboard. Now, I will tell you this, and I've done the analysis using FreedomSoft's lead finder tool and the vacant house flag and absentee owner targeting. You're going to get a really, really good overlap on what your from the field folks are going to send into you. But the thing to remember is that in order to hit the vacant house list, and this is every list provider out there anywhere, not just FreedomSoft, everybody, the house has to be vacant or has to have non-deliverable mail for 90 days. And then it hits the vacant list. So it's 90 days. So if somebody moves out last Tuesday and it's not going to be on the vacant list right away. It's going to take a little bit of time. So on the vacant list, you're getting the truly long-term vacant houses. But those from the field lists will get you the active activity that's going on, and it will help you beat your competition to some of those deals that went vacant quickly.
We got a couple from Trevor. So how do you find people on the ground to drive for dollars for us, especially if you're in a remote market?
Yep. Craigslist ad. Go to either the gig section, the real estate section, post an ad, write a little job description of what you want them to do, what it means, how they're going to do it. Like, they have to have a working car. They have to have an iPhone or an Android, and they have to be able to work between, X and Y hours per week, and run that ad and start talking to people. Yep.
He's got another one. How do we build relationships with agents so we can get a call from them when they have a property that may work for us?
Call them and talk to them. The way I would start it is I would be looking for, understand your geography. Where do you want to buy first, right? Too many real estate investors say, I live in Denver, so I invest in Denver. Well, that's hard to hone in on building something around I invest in Denver, right? So understand your geography, and then go look and figure out what real estate agents have houses listed for sale in this area. What property management companies have houses listed for rent in this area. Call them, start building the relationships with those folks.
Couple from Henry. When turned down by an agent, is this where for sale by owner properties come from?
When turned down,
I think you mean the homeowner, right?
Yeah, when the person that's trying to list through a real estate agency, if they get turned down because of the current status of their house, so you said the furnace doesn't work, roof's bad, you got to do this before we'll list it.
Yep.
Is that where you're going to find people that just say, I'm just going to do a post by myself?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes, like if there's distress or there's something going on and the traditional real estate brokerage sales process doesn't work, or that agent doesn't know how to deal with that situation, then that seller, if they're sophisticated enough, they may go the for sale by owner route and go get it out on different sites online and try to sell it themselves. But that's also where they shut down.
That's what I'm saying. If they don't do that, more than likely it's because they probably just gave up. They're like, oh,
they gave up. They don't have the time. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the whatever. So it might be tried to list it, didn't work. Sometimes they'll put in the effort to go for sale by owner and actually list it for sale by owner. Other times it now just kind of dies by the vine, and that's where your marketing comes in, right? You're building those targeted lists, you're doing the marketing, they get your letter, they get your postcard, and they just had this scenario, right? Your letter says, have you tried to contact a local real estate agent and list the house for sale, and ran into hurdles, distressed, not bankable, needs repairs, yada yada yada, that kind of messaging. And then they're like, yeah, that's exactly what just happened. And now your letter or your postcard says, don't worry about it, we can solve that problem. Okay, sometimes, and you try different things, right? You might try a long form letter. You might try a more detailed postcard. Sometimes you're just trying to get them to pick up the phone and call. Maybe you do a 24-hour recorded message and you don't even do live answer. Because sometimes, most real estate investors that operate at scale will tell you that live answer, if you can take those inbound calls and live answer, they're going to close more if they can get on the phone and be that person that answers live than if they don't. And I agree with that. However, there is a segment of the people in your list that are afraid to call you and talk to somebody live. And so if you send out your marketing and say, call me, let's talk, some people are never going to call because they're afraid of it. So then A week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, you send out another letter or postcard or some marketing that says 24-hour free recorded message, no obligation, no hassle, no conversation. The people that are afraid to talk to you will call that because they want to just listen to the what is this about? Well, there's your hang up. Or there's the voicemail that they're now going to leave. Yep, call me back. This sounds good. So on that recorded message, it's you selling the benefit. They call in, they get your voicemail, and it's you selling the benefits that you can offer to them. So that's pretty huge. That's why in FreedomSoft you can turn on live answer, or you can turn it off and force it straight to voicemail, because there's a 1-2 punch in marketing that sometimes you want, and a lot of guys miss that concept.
So this is from Henry as well, and I think it speaks to one of the benefits is not dealing with an agent, also a marketing play.
Say the question again.
Is not dealing with an agent also a marketing play you can use? And I think what he's referring to is the fact that you don't have an agent, so the fees are lower.
The seller?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so more money to the seller.
Yeah, absolutely. More money to the seller. Hey, listen, if you sell to us, you don't have to pay, commissions. We'll pay the closing costs. A lot of benefits.
Yeah.
Now some of those benefits get offset by the price that you can pay, but it's you can pay the price. You can buy it as is. They don't have to invest $15,000 to fix it up, and you can close quickly. So there's going to be a price discount that offsets the fees that they would pay and all of the other benefits. Absolutely. Yeah, that's all part of the conversation.
Yeah, the idea of that question is there any way that you could get to marketing to those people before they are listing with someone else? Is my idea.
Yeah, build your list, send out your marketing.
Yeah,
that's it. Take that action. Build the list, send out the marketing. And some people, you're going to catch them before they try to list it traditionally.
Other record, yeah.
Yep.
You can get people.
Okay. Absolutely.
Let's keep it rolling. We got more questions. So
cool.
From Sam, how often are you typically sending follow-up? 30 days, 90 days? What's we build a marketing campaign process, right? So marketing is all about consistency. So let's just take one list, and you might be operating multiple different lists in FreedomSoft, right? But let's just take one list, and you build that list and you send out your first bit of marketing today. I'm going to follow up with that particular audience probably every other week for like eight in a row. I'm just consistent. And you'll find over time that your initial response, if it's a new list and a new message, will be higher. And then over time it will just vary, and over time it may peter out a little bit. Well, all of the people that have responded to every outbound marketing message have now gone from the prospect list to the leads list. And now it's the individual customized lead follow-up that happens multiple times a week, right? Through text follow-up, through email follow-up, through a task that drops onto your dashboard or one of your acquisitions guys or gals dashboards to call them back. So there's the campaign sequencing, and then there's the individual prospect to lead follow-up.
And then I guess I was thinking for that deal, or those deals where you said a year later.
Yep.
How often are you reaching out to those people?
Yeah, once we get through, like, we'll do a solid 90 days of pretty regular follow-up, right? In the first 2 weeks, we'll probably hit them 3 times a week. And then in the first, month after that, we'll maybe hit them once a week. And then after that, we'll hit them once every other week. And we'll do that for as long as we've built out the follow-up. And that's one of the automation triggers that we do in FreedomSoft is we'll build that systematic
process out maybe 90 days. And the last automation trigger that will apply to that in FreedomSoft is restart follow-up.
Good. From Rodney online. Hi, Rob. Do you pursue on-market properties as well?
Yes, it depends on the market. I don't spend a lot of time in the current market doing that, just because it doesn't tend to be that good of a use of time. It's a competitive market. It's a hot market. Prices are high. Things are selling over list price. They're selling, with five offers in 4 hours of being listed. So generally, in that hot of a market, I'm not really playing in that game. I'm going after things that I know I can problem solve and I can make a deal happen. Yep.
Good. From Row Price. How large of a list do you need to compile to find at least one lead?
Generally, it depends on the type of marketing you're doing. If you're building a list of, say, for rent properties or prospects, and let's say you build a list of 100 for rent properties, and you send out a text message to those 100 for rent properties, you're probably going to get 20 replies back, right? And out of those 20 replies, you're going to have maybe 2 or 3 or 3 or 5 that say, yeah, I might be interested in selling. Okay, 100 down to 20, down to 3 to 5. Okay, if you send out direct mail, say as an example, I don't send any direct mail. The minimum that I generally send, unless it's a very specific list like probate or something that's very, very honed in and targeted, generally I don't send less than 500 postcards or letters at a time. And usually, like my criteria, I tell people, if you can send 1,000, send 1,000. And so with 1,000 outbound letters or postcards, you're going to get, direct response numbers are generally 1 to 2%, right? Response rate. So you're going to get 10 to 20 inbound leads from that. Now, depending on how you build your list, like the list matters, and you can get higher response rates. One of the reasons I've always gotten higher response rates than most people is because I build slightly different lists. I'll do things a little bit different. Most people start their list building with, say, geography, and then absentee, and then they'll build equity filters, and then they'll just go linearly down until they get the size of the audience that they want, say 500 or 1,000. Well, everybody does that the same way. And every guru teaches you to send 1,000 postcards. So everybody goes down to the same 1,000. So I don't know if you've ever talked to a seller or met with a seller belly to belly. I have hundreds of times. And I'm sitting at their kitchen table and they've got 38 different postcards sitting there from 38 different investors, right? Because everybody did the same thing. So what I will do oftentimes is build a slightly different list. I'll vary some of my filtering as I'm building the list to get a different segment than everybody else. And I've bought multiple lists side by side. And with some of the tweaks that I do, I'll find maybe a 15% overlap, but I'm sending to an 85% unique list than what most everybody else is doing. That's why my response rates are higher than most people that do direct mail. And it's why I will send direct mail even in this market when everybody else is so enamored by cheap text message leads. I'm like, I don't care what the lead cost is. I don't care how much it costs me to do this, because I know a couple things. I'm going to build a better list. I'm going to do good marketing. I'm going to do good follow-up. I'm going to be consistent in my campaign, and I'm going to understand how to solve the seller's problem. And I'm not going to be afraid to talk to them.
Cool. Keep it going. From Jesse online, he said, with news of BlackRock and others pumping the market, is it a good time to acquire rental properties, assuming cash flow numbers work? And then he makes a statement there, worried about a bubble pop coming soon.
Yeah, so good question. I think it's always a decent time to acquire rental properties if the numbers work, right? You've got to look at what the numbers are. Look, I bought houses I sold most of my portfolio in 2006-ish, before the big crash in 08, 06 and 07. But I owned some real estate through that period of time, and guess what? My equity went from here to here. My value went from here to here, but my cash flow continued. It's still rented out, and I didn't have any need to sell. I wasn't trying to sell, so it didn't matter. If you're buying, and the question was cash flow, right? Acquire rental properties. So if you're acquiring rental properties on conservative cash flow numbers, you can hold through the dip, okay? That is why real estate is a hedge against deflation, a deflating dollar, inflation of price, because when things go through that dip, if you have something that people pay utility value for, they're going to continue to pay that utility value. And guess what? If the dollar goes to zero and they come out with US dollar 2.0, you just say, hey, tenants, I'm no longer taking the old dollar, pay me in the new currency. That's why real estate is a transitional asset through big deleveraging cycles in world history.
We have a couple from Kenny. How do you create a 24/7 recorded message? And does FreedomSoft have letters? You've been talking about direct mail.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you create a 24/7 recorded message? You go into FreedomSoft settings, down to the phone system. You go to one of your phone numbers in your account. You click edit, and you click the record button, and you record your voicemail right there. And when you first do that, if you anybody that calls that number is going to hear your recorded message. Now you can set up live answer if you want to live answer that call first, and if you don't answer, then they'll hear the recorded message. If you want them to go straight to the 24/7 recorded message, just don't turn live answer on, and they'll go straight to the recorded message. And then does FreedomSoft have letters? Yeah, we have a full direct mail, letters and postcards and all that stuff automatically built in. Yep.
So we've got,
what else we got?
Yeah, a couple more here, and I think we'll start wrapping this up. So Rodney said, does FreedomSoft lay out a marketing plan? Like some of the things that you've been talking about today.
Yeah, so on some of our templates, there are steps. There are scheduled steps of when to send various postcards, and then you can set specific days if you want them to go out on a Friday, so they land on a Monday or a Tuesday. You can set all that up. So yes, FreedomSoft has that stuff built in, and then plug in with our onboarding, plug in with our support team. This is the kind of stuff that we help our customers with every single day. So the long answer and the short answer is absolutely. We have tons of marketing plans.
Let's see here. Another one from Kenny. What strategy do you use for expired listings?
What strategy do I use for expired listings? I really, in this market right now, I don't. A lot of, you can. I would cold call them. And I think that's what the question said, cold call or postcards. And the answer to that is yes, cold call and postcards. It's not a or, it's an and. Yes, all of it. You just have to test and see what works. And sometimes you're going to call, and you don't get that person, but then you send a postcard, and they were at work. Every time you tried to call them, they get the postcard 7 o'clock at night. They read the postcard and they're like, oh, I think this will help me. They call your 24-hour line, or they call your live answer, and you talk to them, there's a deal. So it's not or, it's always and in marketing. And then measuring response rates and results, which is what FreedomSoft helps you do, is track your response rates and all of your marketing effort. What else we got, Mike?
So let's just wrap up with this one from Rodney. And I remember the comment that you said, I think he just heard it maybe wrong. You said, I'm confused. It seems as though you disparage text messaging to acquire viable leads, and yet I thought FreedomSoft does this. So you were just making a comment about when everybody's going this direction, you're not afraid to go the other direction and still send direct mail in this market.
Yeah, I think, look, everybody's always looking for the silver bullet, right? There's no silver bullet. You're going to either be a successful real estate investor or you're not. I do everything from a marketing standpoint all the time. Sometimes there's a guru promoted hot thing and everybody gravitates that direction. I'm a big believer that when the crowd goes left, I go right? So I don't know if Rodney heard me disparage text marketing or if he heard zigzag. When everybody else zigs, I zag. And that's what I always do. Again, it's an and, not an or when it comes to marketing. And consistency is key. Absolute key. What else we got, Mike? Anything else?
So Jesse said thanks. We just had one final one coming from Kenny. Maybe we'll take this one and we'll wrap here. What's the best list to market to in this current market?
What's the best list to market to in the current market? And, not or. There isn't a best list. You have to build all of the lists. Don't look, Kenny, stop looking for the silver bullet. It doesn't exist. Take massive action. Massive action. Okay? Look, I get it. 20 years ago when I was getting into this business, I always wanted to know the best, the fastest, the secret, right? And there are strategic things you can do as you measure results and you get better and better and better at this business. But I've learned that it's not about the best list or the secret sauce or the silver bullet. It's about consistent action.
That's the silver bullet.
That's the silver bullet.
That's right.
Consistent action. Build your list. Go into FreedomSoft today, build your list and send out direct mail. Guess what's going to happen? If you call them back, follow up, answer your phone, and listen to the voicemails that you get and start talking to people, you're going to close deals, right? Solve their problem. Go back and listen to the last sessions where I've been teaching my team how to analyze a real estate deal. Follow that process. Learn how to run the numbers. Like when I'm talking to a seller, I don't have a big fancy calculator on my dashboard. I've got my iPhone and my calculator right here. And I punch some numbers and I come up with a number that I know I can pay for that house. And that's what we build our conversation around. So that's it, guys and gals. Thanks for chiming in. We'll continue doing these. These are fun. I enjoy the heck out of them. I hope you guys get value out of this as well. That being said, thanks everybody here that joined in, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.